I first and foremost want to be like, I'm one of the motherfuckers. You know, I ain't just saying it because it's my homeboy partner. Because if you done, you done. If you're wrong, you wrong. But I don't subscribe to the Sue Surf telling narrative that they trying to put out there.
Okay, so according to Gotti, he ain't just saying that because Sue Surf is his partner. Well, that's exactly what you're saying. Sad thing about it is you're supposed to know streets and politics, but you're ignoring everything that's actually clearly being documented in these transcripts. So here we is, part 3. And this is the kill shot. This for you, Gotti. This for you, ARP. And anybody else who believe that Surf ain't a snitch. You know what I love? You know what I love about this whole topic? Because it's actually exposing people, especially people who claim to be real, stand up, genuine, and solid, who clearly see what's happening here, but ignoring all the facts that show that this man literally snitched. For whatever reason, they want to defend it. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of relationships, maybe out of the possibility of future friendships or some type of business transaction that may transpire as a result of his release. But one thing, none of them ain't gonna ever prove this paperwork wrong. They stuck. Ain't no way you can get around it, especially when you're dealing with people who know how to break down paperwork like me. I'm older than a lot of these dudes in this game. That's why it's easy to break this stuff down. A lot of them ain't on my level mentally. They can't actually break down these things like this, but they don't, but they know that what they saying is a lie, which is terrible. You put your name, reputation on the line for a liar. You put your name, reputation on the line for a snitch. So you would rather go against your own self. You ain't even being true to yourself. You rather go against your own self just to exalt someone else who dead to the wrong. And you're going to keep, and this right here, this part 3 right here, this a wrap. This gonna destroy anybody who trying to defend him. Like you can't get around this paperwork. I actually got a close friend of mine, very, very close friend of mine. And she works in a law firm. When she was watching this and looking at that paperwork, she like, that's what I don't like about niggas. Like, look, I know, I'm trying to tell you. They can't keep it real to save their own lives, man. But never look, that's why people like watching Battle Truth. Because they know I'm gonna give it to you in the raw. But I'm gonna show facts and I'm gonna prove facts. And I'm not sugarcoating nothing. And I'm qualified to do this. They can't go against me. My track record speaks for itself. I did 10 and a half years in prison under the biggest, most notorious gang in the country. Literally. Everybody know that. Everybody know that the Gangster Disciples is the biggest gang in the United States. It ain't even no Crips and Bloods in Chicago. None. Not at all. You know why? There's a reason behind that. There's a reason for that. And we're talking about gang headquarters. That's where I came up under. Cats can't pull my coattail. Cats can't call me out. Okay? I did prison time for the mob, for the gang. I went on missions, gunfire, gang fights. Y'all seen, matter of fact, I'm finna show my people I was up under. Hold on, watch this. Okay, this right here is a series I did called My Big Brother OG. This is my real blood brother who was actually calling shots for the mob. And we were up under him. This is an interview I did with him after he got out of prison. He had also a life sentence that he ended up giving back a lot of time, where he was fighting 8 bodies. He had 8 bodies he was fighting, along with all type of drug conspiracies and everything. So he ended up, and he was on death row. So he ended up beating the bodies. He gave a lot of the time back, you know what I mean? But He was the leader. He went to prison up under this already. He did 15 years straight in federal prison. He was supposed to have a life sentence. He gave away all that time back, and he beat the bodies, which they ended up releasing him afterwards. Now, this was my interview with him, and he was just, you know, he gave me the interview, basically of his life and the things we used to do, by which I also was incarcerated and went down for. I caught my first case under them, gun violence and, you know, drugs, you know. So this is him giving a breakdown of how he basically was running a mob. See, we was different than other gangs. He was like a black belt. He's like I think maybe a third or fourth degree black belt. So he would not only train us in guns and stuff, but he also trained us in fighting. Pay attention to some of the things he talked about in this brief clip I'm finna show you. Well, it's gonna be a few minutes of this interview, just so you can get a background of my background, of where I come from, and the things we used to do. Watch this.
Right. On that house.
Right.
That is common sense. So when you go somewhere else and you know you've done nothing for that struggle in that particular place,
Right.
you know to step to the side, you come in as a guest.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't do nothing here. It's already established.
Right.
And I, you know, what I'm supposed to come. And I'm gonna tell you something. At the end of the day, I don't care what you are. The only thing matters is what the people who are with you think.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you buck, they buck.
Right. True.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what your membership think, because that's what puts you in power. Right. I'm not a guy that's put in power because this guy say, okay, give him a spot. I'm the guy that put in power. I rose with my people.
Did you ever? He's not put in power because a person say, hey, he got the power. What gave him a power position is because the people put him in position. Watch this. All the members. Watch this.
Had to go through training.
So I asked him, did you ever have to go through the training? Watch this.
You ever had to go through training?
No.
So why would you put us through training?
See that? Why did you put us through the training then? He didn't go through the training because he was already established by the nations or the mob as being an outstanding member who put in a lot of work to the point that his record and background spoke for itself, by which he was elevated and respected among the mob.
Because that was based off my experience.
As far as like in your personal?
No, as mobbing, the things that we lacked so much that caused us a lot of problems. You know what I mean? See, what you learn off, you're supposed to learn off your past.
Right. Watch his mentality of how he ran and structured the organization by which he trained us under.
What works and what don't work.
Right.
So you be better prepared for the future.
Right.
So the things that we went through in the 80s, you know what I mean? In the 90s, I changed them around. You know what I mean? Because we was missing a lot of stuff. You know, back then in the 80s, man, a guy could see you with your hat the wrong way and then go and kick something off, you know, and he be scared as hell, but he only doing that because what, y'all 50 strong, 30, 10 strong?
Right.
Now would he do that if he was by himself? No. So a lot of things changed in the 90s compared to what was going on in the 80s.
Okay, just in case people didn't hear because my phone was going off. He said that one of the reasons why he had us up under training, because for a long time, things was done differently in the 80s, in the late 80s and the 90s. He said a person can see another person with their hat turned the wrong way. See, here's the things. Like, when it came to Chicago gangs, we had colors, but we were more so aggressive towards hats being turned right or left. The oppositions had their hats turned to the left, and we had our hats to the right. Crips and Bloods on the West Coast and wherever else they be, they mainly focused on colors more and not hats. So you could wear the wrong color and the person to take your life. So basically he was saying, like, when he got into position of power and leadership, what he wanted to make sure that everybody that was under him knew how to fight. Because he was saying back then, a person to try to kick something off with an opposition because they hat was turned the wrong way, just because they 50 to 20 deep strong. But would he have done that if he was alone? Would he be that confident if he was by himself? Because it's easy to want to fight when you got a group of people with you. But would you know how to stand your own ground and be just as confident if you was by yourself? So what he wanted to do was make sure that everybody that was under him, it was mandatory that you knew how to fight. And if you didn't know how to fight, he was going to train you to fight. So that, you know what, I'm going to let you hear him.
The way the program's being ran out there. And then that's only naturally that you do so. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so now you really got to be a real G. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you kick something off, we expect you to,
follow through on it.
Yeah, you start it, you close it.
Right.
You open it, you close it, so to speak.
Right. So you never went through training. You never was groomed.
Oh, I actually
like you was grooming us.
No, I learned from watching other people.
Okay.
Because I was already sharp. You know what I mean?
You believe you was sharp when you was young?
Man, I believe I was a sharper when I was young.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. As you age, the brain shrinks. Everybody knows that. So if you had to take you back to when you was in your 20s, and that's why they mean, wow, I was raw when I was young. Right. You know what I mean? What they mean by that is that your body within itself was young.
Right.
The mind young, the body young. You got plenty of energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? As you get older, what makes you become more wise is because you can't move the way you used to move.
Right.
So now that causes you to step back and think more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Young people, they don't think. They think, but they don't analyze
what they think.
Right. The information, the knowledge that they receive.
Right.
They ain't sitting there analyzing it and picking through it. They get it and run it. Run with it. Don't know nothing. Just run it. I think I know.
Right.
And that's what they move off of. So once you actually slow down, then you able, to sit back, analyze everything that you're going through. You start thinking more and thinking and thinking and thinking. And now when you move, it's noticeable in a different way.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like people see, like, man, I wish I could move like that. Man,
right.
Where do you get that from? You know what I mean? And to take back, the best training I ever had was watching the military. Because
what you mean watching? You used to watch them?
Watch this, y'all.
You were fascinated by them or something?
Always have.
So at that part,
Green Beret, Navy SEAL. You know what I'm saying?
Not the Guardian Angels.
Hey, put oh, I'm sorry, y'all.
So you used that to structure when you started doing what you was doing?
When we started moving on trouble spots, shall I say, like areas that was giving us a hard time. You go in there like the country, send them.
He learned from the military. So he started training us to get ready to move on trouble spots, areas that was giving us trouble. He trained us to move on trouble spots. Watch this.
It's a hard time. You go in there like the country, send a Navy SEAL over into other countries. And we started moving on trouble spots, shall I say, like areas that was giving us a hard time. You go in there like the country, send a Navy SEAL over into other countries to even when they went and got bit alive.
Right.
Now you see where I'm going with this?
Right.
You try to do the same thing.
Right.
Your military got to be capable of infiltrating and destroying any adversary.
I thought you would just I thought you would just. Well, it had to be a motive behind how you went grooming that, so that do make a lot of sense.
I groomed y'all to be militant.
That do make a lot of sense because I thought you just wanted to make sure that we all knew how to fight. That if it ever came down to,
of course, that's militant. The special forces do not all their men know some type of martial arts, self-defense, combat with hands and weapons.
This look, let me tell you something, bro would have us. We would be fighting for hours. I'm talking about all terrible. I'm talking about like on the spot, like unexpected. Nobody knew it. Just it kick off 5-6 hours, like straight. Like, hey man, ain't you tired, man? No. And it's like I was like, is this normal? I'm like, yeah, that's normal. I'm like, dang. A lot of people don't like that.
I know they.
A lot of people. He would put us in groups. Such and such, such and such there. Such and such, such and such. Y'all there. Y'all on team. Let's go.
So that's who I was under, who also was my brother, which made things harder for me because he wanted me to live up to his reputation. So when we breaking down his paperwork and talking about this certain thing, I ain't trying to hear what nobody say. In fact, we was entirely different. When we was coming up, when it was called banging didn't mean shooting. Banging meant fighting. When it would be like, oh, they banging, that meant we were fighting. That's what gang banging meant, that we were fighting. And it was mandatory that everybody that was a part of the team knew how to fight. In fact, that's when people started trying to pull guns out on us because nobody could beat us in fighting. We knew how to fight, and we enjoyed fighting, physically fighting. Now, with that being said, that's just a little background. Okay.
I want to throw too much light and gasoline on it because I know once you put like certain captions or names, it'll make it seem like you adding to the story. So I first and foremost want to be like, I'm one of the motherfuckers. You know, I ain't just saying it because it's my homeboy partner. Because if you done, you done. If you're wrong, you wrong. But I don't subscribe to the Sue Surf telling narrative that they trying to put out there on him. But for me, I felt like in Mav's situation, when you doing an interview and somebody talking about a battle, that's exactly what he seems like. Oh, I'll battle him when he get out. And then you like, wait, nigga, still a battle him? And what's going on? Like, it's still rules, right? Like, you heard what I heard and all this, like you insinuating like you got some or you doing some on somebody. To me, that's just corny because the thing with battle rapping that people lose sight of is that this shit is still real life outside of it. And people like in real life, you're not gonna be able to insinuate somebody something without having no concrete shit, without no consequence. Even in real life, if you really had some concrete shit on the motherfucker and you ain't willing to stand on it when you see him, you might as well stand down because it's niggas who done really told that'll still pop your ass because they feel like, nigga, they still a man, they gotta deal what they deal with. So for me, when you dealing in these certain conversations without having concrete shit and you really ain't trying to stand on that, you gotta really like kind of tread lightly on that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then I think you doing a disservice to the fans because 90 or probably 90% of the people that be on the internet haven't fought a case or been through some of the situations. So you can kind of trick the mind if you just reading straight off paper on what's going on and be like, oh, this is what's said about this and this is what's said about that. And you not knowing how court proceedings go. If I'm on a case with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 motherfuckers, and we all already decided that we gonna plead deals, if I take my deal in June and they take theirs in December, and another nigga take his in January, another nigga take his in February, but we already decided we gonna the shit gonna say the same shit. Don't matter what it was said. We already decided, we taking deals. I'm taking mine right now. All right. Another nigga might be like, well, shit, man, I'm trying to stay down here in the county. My bitch be coming down, busting moves. I'll take my deal in a couple months. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't never been in jail to know that this type of shit goes on. You know what I'm saying? So.
Okay, no matter how you try to dress it up, first of all, there is concrete evidence that he snitched. Second of all, Surf been called a snitch through his whole career. People have told him to his face he was a snitch and meant it, and he know they meant it when they called him a snitch. Many people have done that to him his whole career. Now, with that being said, With that being said, they didn't only call him a snitch, they called him a pedophile. Shine called him a snitch and a pedophile. You didn't think Shine meant it? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, going on a little further. So there is hardcore concrete evidence. And here's another thing. Y'all doing too much line that we need to clean up, as though we ain't been following this, as though we ain't been covering this. And this is where I come in at on this. First of all, here's another thing. Stop saying that they all made agreements before they all made agreements that they was gonna take the plea deal. Because here's the thing that they lying and deceiving, and like you say, we ain't being honest to the fans. No, you're not being honest to the fans. Everybody knew that Surf was arrested last. Everybody else had been, the feds came and got. Surf was on the run. You forgot? Surf was on the run. So when did they have time to all come together and say, guess what? We're going to take these plea things together, when they didn't even know that the feds was coming for them. Surf went on the run, even as much as getting rid of his social medias, making new social media because he was an internet junkie, coming on Spaces under fake social media profiles, trying to hide who he was because the feds was looking for him. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Because the feds was looking for him because he was the last one to get arrested, because the feds were looking for him. And you remember his lawyer was like, you know, he going through some things, and, you know, we trying to get some things together. We may go, you know, he might gonna turn himself in, but he really didn't get to turn himself in. They ended up finding out where he was at because he on social media using fake profiles that's tied to his real profiles. He all on Spaces, acting like he's somebody else, but everybody know him as Surf. And even though he under fake profiles, everybody calling him Surf on Spaces. Surf, 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 Surf. Why he on the run trying to hide from the police that actually arrested him through social media. Right. I'll let y'all figure that one out. So stop with these narratives of, oh, they all got together and said, we're going to take these agreements together. No, they didn't. No, they didn't, because they didn't know that the feds was coming for them, because that's how the feds get you. You never know when they coming. So they all got hit and was arrested. Surf was on a run while they was all arrested. Surf get arrested months later, immediately taking the plea when he got arrested. So stop with these lies. Stop with these lies, because the paperwork going to expose y'all as being frauds. Now, here's the thing. And everybody know that in battle rap who been following. Let's go a little deeper, because today is all this. This ain't no narrative here, snitch. I'm finna prove again 100% he was a snitch. Another false narrative y'all throwing out there saying. Notice how I'm crushing all they false narratives. They the ones putting false narratives out here, because they didn't all get together and say we taking these plea deals, because we just saw Mr. Warden was against the things that were being said about him, and he was in disagreement with Surf's statement about him that Surf agreed to. He didn't want no association with Rolling 60s at all, and he was trying to fight his case, proving that he was not with them, so they didn't agree to take a plea. This man wanted to go to trial, and he wanted his case thrown out, but he couldn't, because they used Surf's statement against him when his lawyer was trying to fight to get his case thrown out. So when they say there wasn't no name drops, there was name drops. Killer, aka Mr. Warden, name was dropped in a conversation with Surf that Surf admitted was true, and that he actually did along with that guy, and it was used against him when his lawyer was trying to get his case thrown out, and they used Surf's statement to actually go against, rule out their motion, where he continued to have to stand trial till it forced him to take a plea as a result of Surf's statement being used against him that already admitted to the same charge. He had the same charge as Surf, that Surf admitted that was us. Oh, I'm finna go a little deep. So that killed y'all other narrative. Another false narrative y'all said, that Surf took accountability for his own actions. Oh, this when it get good. Because Surf sworn testimony before the courts was that every crime he did was in furtherance of the gang. What do that mean, y'all? Let's look up the definition of what it means in a federal RICO case that every action you do was in furtherance of the gang. Let's look at that definition right here. See, they can't get around paperwork like that. I will destroy them with this paperwork. Look what's under here. Pay close attention to what I just put up. Under RICO law, what does it mean to commit crime in furtherance of gang? See, the title was too long. But look what it says here. This is what it means. This is what Surf testified before the courts and pleaded to pertaining to his actions that they trying to say he just admitted what he did. I'm continuing to prove you that's a lie, that he couldn't just admit to what he did. Let me show you what I mean by that. Look what this is. In furtherance of the gang, the crime must be committed to benefit the enterprise. The word enterprise could be substituted as gang. Prosecutors must show the individual committed crimes at the discretion of the gang. In other words, the gang made me do this. Everything I did was a direct commandment in under the gang's direction. Prosecutors must show the individual committed crimes at the direction of the gang in association with gang members or for the purpose of advancing their position in the gang. So that's in a whole. That's in an exclusive whole. So when Surf make the statement that, yeah, I did this in furtherance of the gang, that meant that the Rolling 60s made me do this. All my actions were done under the command and orders of the Rolling 60s. Y'all can't get around that. Important considerations, a broad scope. RICO allowed prosecutors to charge individuals for crimes they may not have committed directly, but were committed by other members of the gang in furtherance of their common criminal goals. Do you see that? So even though Surf may have carried out the actions personally, but they were still attributed to in charge of the ones who's under this because it's being done in furtherance of the gang. In other words, individual actions done in furtherance of the gang makes other people in the gang guilty of his actions as though they did it, because it's being done in furtherance of the gang by the direction and command and discretion of the gang. So when they lie and say Surf just took accountability for his own actions, we can flat out say y'all are a damn liar, because Surf is literally taking the plea testimony saying that he did his crimes in furtherance of the gang. In other words, what that means, that the Rolling 60s made him commit these actions in furtherance of their success or criminal empire. See that? He never took accountability for his own actions. In fact, he blamed his actions on the Rolling 60s by which they all were indicted. Remember, Surf is not under his indictment. He's under a Rolling 60s indictment. That's why when you see him making confession, let's look at his testimony and plea, y'all, what it says. Watch this. So check this out, people.
At this time, Mr. Cox, I am going to proceed to the factual basis, and once again, your verbal acknowledgments are required. From at least in or around 2015 through on or about September 22nd, 2022, were you a member and associate of the Rolling 60s Neighborhood Crips gang, known as the Rolling 60s or the Enterprise? The defendant: yes, ma'am.
Strike one.
The court: did the Rolling 60s operate in the District of New Jersey? The defendant: yes, ma'am.
Strike two.
The court: did the Enterprise have rules, traditions, and protocols that you followed as a member and associate? The defendant: yes, ma'am.
Strike three.
The court: during the time that you were a member of the Enterprise, Did you knowingly conspire, that is, agree with other members and associates of the enterprise to commit at least 2 criminal acts in furtherance of the enterprise? The defendant. Yes.
Okay, very important. Look what it just says right here. Pay attention to the paperwork. Did you knowingly conspire? Look up top, y'all. I want y'all to read this with me. Watch this. Did you knowingly conspire, that is, agree with other members and associates of the enterprise to commit at least, pay close attention to what they doing here, at least 2 criminal acts, watch this, in furtherance of the enterprise. Remember, Surf is only charged with 2 criminal acts. It's a reason why they only gave him 2 of the criminal acts out of the 6 to actually agree to this plea deal. He is establishing RICO for them. He admitted that he's a member. He admitted that they operated in the city of New Jersey, and he admitted that he has a part in the leadership role. But everything he's done, everything he did, it was the rolling 60s that commanded him to do it, by which he's not taking accountability for his own action. He's blaming all his actions on the rolling 60s. Notice what it says here. Did you commit at least 2 criminal acts in furtherance of the enterprise? These will be the same 2 acts that he would later on admit to his actions. But remember, his actions is done in furtherance of the enterprise. What do that definition mean again? Let's look at it. In furtherance means that the prosecutor must show the individual committed crimes at the direction of the gang. So he's not taking accountability for his own action. What he is saying is that the rolling 60s commanded me to carry out these criminal acts and missions. That's why they use this word right here. Watch when they go into his crimes. Watch when they go into his crime. And remember what it said right here? Look down here at what it said when it say broad scope. The next paragraph. It says, RICO allows prosecutors to charge individuals for the crimes they may not have committed directly. Remember? So the gang now is being charged with Surf crimes by which he is pleading guilty to being in furtherance of the enterprise. You see what's happening now? Surf crimes now is attached to the rolling 60s to actually substantiate, confirm, and actually give convictions to the indictment by which they are under, because all his actions are done in furtherance of the gang. So he's not taking his own accountability. He's actually saying that everything he did was under the command of the rolling 60s by which he carried out these orders. Now watch how cold this is, people. So now y'all seeing how to read paperwork. Y'all seeing that they can't get around this, right? All them lies they said, look how I destroy and crush every last one of their false narratives who try to protect him and trying to make up excuses for him, who's literally exposing themselves and being liars and frauds and trying to call us out for telling the truth. Yeah, Piper Boy, put this up so that they can see this on your channel too. Put this script, put this in furtherance of the gang up and expound on it so that people could know that Surf did not take accountability for his own actions, but blamed the rolling 60s for everything he did, by which they are now indicted and forced to take pleas upon him being the first to take the plea that actually proves their guilt by him saying they did this. Because that's what that's saying. That's what that's saying. That's clear. Nobody could get around this. Watch this. Now let's see. Look, watch how they prove in furtherance of the gang. Remember what in furtherance of the gang mean? That everything he's doing is in command of the rolling 60s. The rolling 60s is commanding him to do this. Now, Surf have just established that the rolling 60s is a criminal organization because he's speaking and playing a part of the leadership role, deeming that the rolling 60s are a criminal enterprise by which he committed criminal acts and proving that it is against the United States of America by which you are now indicted. Because he didn't only speak as a member, he speak as also a person who orchestrated. Look, were you an organizer a manager, a supervisor. So he orchestrated also things within the organization that was criminal, that went against the United States government, by which they are now charged federal time. They can't get around this. But then in his own actions, he's saying that these things were commanded by higher up, like the guy Franklin, who is said to be the real leader. All this fall on him. That basically Franklin them, that's what they're saying. Franklin them ordered him to do this. This is what it means in the court of law. The hell with what everybody else saying. The courts know the truth. The paperwork is the truth. This was being presented before the higher courts to give them more indictments and sign off on more warrants. Let me show y'all something. Now, remember, he's speaking in furtherance of the gang. So everything he's admitting to is not his own accountability or action. It's him speaking that he committed these crimes in furtherance of the gang. Watch how it proves itself in the paperwork. Look what it says here. Watch this.
The court. Were you in fact an organizer, leader, manager, or supervisor within the enterprise, Mr. Cox? The defendant. Yes. The court. And did you in fact commit certain overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy? The defendant. Yes.
Okay. Did you commit certain overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy? Remember, they keep notice they making him admit that all his actions is done in furtherance of the gang. And what do that mean? That he's being commanded by the Rolling 60 to carry out and commit criminal acts. That's what that means. We just saw that. Watch this. Then they go into the crime itself. Pay attention to the words they use to confirm and furtherance of the gang. Watch this. Watch the words they use.
The court. For example, on or about March 18th, 2017, did you shoot at a member and associate of a rival gang?
There you go.
The defendant. Yes, ma'am.
Did you look? What does it mean in furtherance of the gang? In furtherance of the gang means what? It means that you are being commanded by the gang itself to carry out and commit acts. Notice what it says here. Then it go into serve crime. Did you shoot at a member and associate of a rival? See the word rival? Rival is confirming and furtherance of the gang. They are Rolling 60s, and who are they? Rivals. So the Rolling 60 commanded me to shoot and target our rivals. You see that? You see that? Let's look at even more.
The court. For that offense, on or about January 29th, 2018, were you convicted of aggravated assault in violation of NJSA statute annotated 2C12-1B2 and sentenced to 3 years probation with credit for 317 days in custody? The defendant. Yes, ma'am. The court. And did you know that aggravated assault was in fact a felony? The defendant. Yes. The court. Therefore, after that conviction, Mr. Cox, did you know that you were a felon and thus prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition? The defendant. Yes. The court. Additionally, during the previously mentioned time period, did you knowingly and intentionally conspire with other members and associates of the enterprise to distribute and possess with intent to distribute at least 40 but less than 60 kilograms of marijuana across state lines? The defendant. Yes, ma'am. The court. On or about July 24th, 2019 in Essex County, New Jersey, did law enforcement recover a Beretta PX4 Storm 40 caliber firearm bearing serial number PY44520 loaded with 9 rounds of ammunition as well as 9mm Taurus Brazil Pt.3 handgun bearing serial number TCR 76915 loaded with 3 rounds of ammunition, which I will collectively refer to as firearms and ammunition. Did they locate this and recover it from a car in which you were traveling? The defendant, yes, ma'am. And did the firearms and ammunition, the court, and did the firearms and ammunition belong to you? The defendant, yes. The court, at the time you possessed these firearms and ammunition, Mr. Cox, had you already been convicted of a felony? The defendant, yes. The court, and is it fair to say that you knew that as a felon you were prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition? The defendant, yes. The court, and is it fair to say at this time that you are pleading guilty because you are, in fact, guilty of the offenses set forth in counts 1 and 3 of the superseding indictment? The defendant, yes, ma'am.
Very important. Now, again, watch the closing argument of the court. Watch what they say after his sworn testimony. Again, they go from not only no longer accusing Rolling 60s as being a criminal enterprise. After Sir's statement, they're establishing them as a criminal enterprise, no longer accusing.
The court, very well. Thank you, Mr. Cox. At this time, Ms. LaCorey, are there any representations the government would like to place on the record? Ms. LaCorey, the prosecutor. Yes, Your Honor. The United States makes the following representations to the court. First, the Rolling 60s Neighborhood Crips is an enterprise as defined in Title 18 United States Code Section 1961-4.
Okay, so basically after Sir's statement, and they say, thank you, sir, for your cooperation. Then they say, what do the court want to say? Then the court say, thank you, Your Honor. So after that sworn statement, because we gave you documentation, Sir served as a representation. Now we have the conclusion that's factual for convictions that the Rolling 60s is an enterprise as defined, because Sir just was the representative to confirm this, also being a member and having a leadership role. So he established that it is a criminal organization and enterprise, and all his actions were carried out as a direction of the gang by which he was commanded to carry out these orders. That's what he literally just saying.
Second, that the activities of the enterprise affected interstate commerce, including the sale of marijuana, heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and the use of facilities in interstate commerce. This was important because this is how they locked them in to traveling across state lines for it to be a Fed case. And that shows you how important the connection to California in this case was. But let's keep going. Third, that members and associates of the enterprise engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity as defined in Title 18, United States Code Sections 1959, B1 and 1961, in furtherance of the enterprise's objectives.
There you go. In furtherance of the enterprise objective. So Sir's sworn statement and plea actually is establishing conviction for everybody else as a result of his plea. Everything he said in his plea that he agreed to, notice what they saying here. They ain't even mentioning Sir no more. Now they saying Rolling 60s, Rolling 60s, Rolling 60s, Rolling 60s. They ain't even mentioning Sir. They used Sir's statement to actually establish the RICO for the Rolling 60s, because everything Sir did was in furtherance of the gang. That's why it says up here, that the United States section in furtherance of the enterprise objective. See that? So y'all can't make up excuses for him. You can't get around that. Sir can't even sue nobody for calling him a snitch if he wanted to, because that's what they're gonna do. Bring out the documentations and paperwork and any courtroom that actually know paperwork, read this and know, like, yeah, you did snitch, you did tell. Plus the documents that have to be given over to the defendants to actually go through, and he definitely don't want them. See, and this is why I like exposing this. I like exposing this because these brothers are terrible in the things that they doing and what they trying to cover up and say. What I mean by that, what's terrible about what they doing is things like this. You want to cover up the lie, and you trying to glorify and publicize and make popular these satanic gangs. Like when I was showing you when I was a part of the gang, that stuff was very evil, and it was wicked, and it was training us to kill and hurt one another, like you heard in those confessions. But when we growing up in the streets, we look at that as some badge of honor, when in reality it's terrible, and it hurt us as a people and a nation. What they don't tell you is the real truth, that Crips kill Crips, Bloods kill Bloods, gangsters kill gangsters, fives kill fives. They don't tell you that part. That the same people you are part of also is your same enemies at the same time. More so than your so-called ops. Your real ops be people that's actually up under you, under the same brand you up under. And it's terrible. These things need to be exposed. They need to be called out. People need to see that the same people who publicize this stuff and making it look attractive, it's actually deceivers. They deceivers, man. They need to be called out on this mess. And you see it every time. And look, they can't even keep it real. They can't get around paperwork like this. You can't get around this stuff. You sure ain't finna pull the wool over my eyes. And they hate anybody that tell the truth and call it out like it does. See how I just destroyed everything that they said about Surf to try to protect them? I destroyed everything. Oh, he just admitted to his own guilt. No, he didn't. He admitted to doing his actions and crimes in furtherance of the enterprise or gang, which meant they commanded him to do that. He's not taking accountability for himself, or wouldn't say in furtherance of. Stop it. I know paperwork. I didn't have people tell on me before. I didn't have people's statements used against me before. You can't use that stuff on me. I know it already. We're not finna play these games. That's why it's easy to call this stuff out. Like, let's just be honest. So that's what that means. That's a kill shot. That's clear. What they gonna say about that? I destroyed all their narratives. And shouts out again to Byron Blake for doing a tremendous job and presenting this paperwork and doing a good breakdown on it. But I'm gonna add emphasis to it and put even more pressure on it. Now, I bet none of them won't put no money up proving that he's not a snitch. I bet they won't do that, because I put thousands on it. This easy money. They can't say I ain't got the money. I got the money. I put thousands on it. I bet none of them ain't gonna come out their pocket to prove it. They gonna talk, but they ain't gonna line up that paperwork. Come on, man. I will bring real gangsters up in here. Like real, what they call real gangsters, I'll bring them up in here. Like 10 of them. And anybody who read that paperwork, they're gonna say, yeah, he snitched, he told. You can't get around these receipts. So with that being said, it is what it is. They can't pull my card because I've been solid. I've been validated for what they call solid and validated. Me personally, I think it's a bunch of BS. It's nothing but a bunch of trash. Always wanting the lordship over somebody. Always wanting somebody to praise and worship you. Always preying on other people's poverties and shortcomings. That's what gangs do. Send off the young dudes. You ain't sending off nobody who got money. Because they're going to tell you out the gate, I ain't doing that. 9 times out of 10, I ain't doing that. You're going to send off somebody who broke, ain't really got nothing, and they gonna go do something to try to prove themselves to get a few dollars. It's nothing but deception. And I'm just gonna keep it real. When I was coming up under that, we were trained to do all that because we had to protect the leader in the drug trade that we was participating in. It wasn't because of love of us. It wasn't because of that. It was to protect the territory by which we was making money off of drugs and protect the leadership. That's what it was. And just like what they was doing, everybody else doing, preying on the youth who don't really have fathers in their homes, who raised by weak women, who didn't properly discipline and lead the children in the right way, to by which you became afraid of them and they got up in age, and now they become society's problem. They all snitches. We ain't gonna play these games, man. Not gonna play these games. And that's your boy Battle Truth. That's the real truth. See, they can't get around stuff like that. See, so they lying to y'all. They lying to y'all. I refuse to do my people like that. People know when you come to Battle Truth channel, Battle Truth gonna give you the truth. Y'all battling with the truth. That's why I like the title of my show. Y'all battle with the truth. I ain't got to battle with it. I accept the truth and everything about it. I'm not gonna battle with it. Whether it's for me or against me, the truth is the truth, and it's not gonna change. But people do.
Bustin' no streets for you, so leave me waiting on you. Bustin' no streets for you, so leave me waiting on you. Bustin' no streets for you, so leave me waiting on you.